Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 20th edition of Realm News. I am your host, Greg Howard. Yes, I am breaking the fourth wall today and going by my given name, Greg Howard, instead of the Dark Lord. Because today I have the distinct honor of bringing to you an extraordinarily talented artist who goes by the name of Kristoffer Zetterstrand. You may have recently heard of his recent 15 paintings that he has created for the Minecraft's 15th anniversary. And you all know him through the original paintings that have been in the overworld since 2009. Beyond his contribution to the game of Minecraft by bringing art to the digital overworld, Mr. Zetterstrand has been contributing beautiful, thought-provoking art in our real world for many years through oil paintings and mosaic tiles. He has a Master of Fine Arts degree from the Royal University College of Fine Art in Stockholm, Sweden. He has spoken in the year 2012 in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian American Art Museum, and also spoke in the year 2014 at Bahuslands Museum. Those are just a couple places you may have heard him from. Those are just also a few of his achievements out of many over the years. Enough of me talking, let's hear Kristoffer Zetterstrand tell us himself. Let's begin the show, folks. Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, Mr. Zetterstrand.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing today?
Very well. Great weather here in Stockholm, so
Is it?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. It's almost weird. It's been like summer warmth now for 2 weeks. Crazy.
Here it's getting very warm.
Really? Yeah.
Yes.
You're in Kansas, right?
Yes, the very center of the United States,
Oh,
literally.
wow. Yeah. Is it supposed to be like warm already there?
It's not untypical for it to be.
No.
Kansas, the weather can fluctuate
Yeah.
every 5 minutes, they say. It can rain and snow in the same day.
I get it. Yeah. Well, for it to be this warm now in Stockholm is quite unusual. It's been like in June it's this warm, but now it's like beginning of May, and it's fantastic. Sun every day.
No, I understand. Last summer, I'm sure over in Europe it was extremely hot as well. It was the hottest on record in history here.
Yeah, and I think they measured it like the last couple of weeks has been the warmest ever measured in Sweden at this time of year. So yeah.
Oh wow, I did not realize that.
That's weird.
I used to live in France for a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, up in Alsace region, Franche-Comté.
Yeah.
And it was very cold there, but I don't know what it's like these days. That was about 18 years ago I lived there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I loved it.
Just on the border to Germany, right?
Yes, on the border of Germany, and not far from Switzerland, I believe. Wait, true. No. I'm trying to think. It wasn't too far from there.
No, it's not. It's not too far. Yeah.
I never made it into Sweden.
No, it's a couple of miles more north.
Yeah, it's a little bit further. I've always wanted to see Sweden and Norway and all the northern countries.
Norway's absolutely amazing.
So, Mr. Zetterstrand, I have to thank you so much for agreeing to be on Realm News.
It's my pleasure.
I just sent you a random email. I had to work up some courage to email you because I imagine you're an extremely busy person.
Well, I'm busy, but I make my own schedule and everything. So it's just me here in the studio all day. So of course I got time for other stuff as well.
Well, I really do appreciate it. And you shocked me with your 15 Minecraft paintings
Yeah,
that were
yeah.
released.
Yeah, when you asked for the interview, I was like, okay, well, I am a bit busy actually right now, and I think you would think, and I also think you would appreciate it more if we made the interview after.
Good
Yeah.
thinking. No, that was perfect.
Yeah,
I was telling my girlfriend, I said,
yeah,
wow, I think I'm talking to the artist right after he released all these paintings.
yeah.
I think this is some perfect timing.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah.
Well,
Is the
I,
audio okay, by the way?
uh,
I got a new microphone and I'm not sure how it works, if it works properly.
your microphone is perfect.
Oh, good, good.
I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you fine. Yeah.
Good, good. I honestly, I'm I'm in between transitioning my podcast between hosting platforms. So I was a
Hmm.
little nervous
Oh, yeah.
about this because I'm literally doing this through my phone.
Oh, no, but this sound is perfect.
Oh, good, good. I'm backing it up though with a microphone, a
Mm,
professional microphone, but
yeah,
it's just kind of a weird transitional phase.
yeah, I get it. Yeah.
and I won't lie, Mr. Zetterstrand, I've been
Christopher,
doing
Christopher,
Chris.
please.
Okay, thank you, Christopher.
Yeah.
I've been doing my homework on you, and I must say, I've never realized how much artwork you have done throughout your life until
Yeah.
I, I, I was wondering for the audience that
Mm,
may not be aware of the artist behind the Minecraft paintings,
yeah.
for those who are somewhat new to Minecraft and whatnot listening to this show, I wanted to ask, when was it that you got into art?
Oh, from when I was a kid, basically. I also lived in France for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and in Paris,
Oh, I love
and also in we were in the south of France for a while too. But I went to school in Paris for a while, and yeah, I was kind of struck by all the we went off into the museums, and
mm,
I would sit in the Louvre and draw from the old master paintings and stuff, uh, and I had always drawn a lot and made cartoons, and
mm.
I always gifted all my relatives small paintings and drawings every Christmas and stuff. But no, so I was really into art and illustration, and I played a lot of like role playing games with my friends, and I would always sit there sketching, the characters and the events that unfolded while we were playing, and uh, so I was constantly drawing. But then I went to well, is it like high school? We don't
Collage.
yeah, we don't have the same education like
I,
system. But when I was like from 15 to 18, I actually studied natural sciences,
okay.
uh, because I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. I knew that it probably would have something to do with drawing or painting,
But
but
natural science, like
yeah,
biology.
yeah, biology and physics and math and stuff.
Interesting.
Mm, but when I was finished there, I was like, no, 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 this is I got to continue with art. So that's when I went to the first art school at 18, and that was like the basics of painting, really old school stuff, but more influenced by like the art education system in Sweden at that time was like influenced by, but modernism really.
Okay.
But I was more interested in even older stuff, like I wanted to paint like Rembrandt and the 18th century French painters that I've seen at the museum. So
That's something I fell in love with also while I was
yeah,
in I had the opportunity to go to Louvre and
yeah, yeah.
yes.
So I went to art school for like 2 years there, and then 2 years more at another art school, because to get into the the holy grail of art schools in Sweden, the Royal College, you needed to like have a massive portfolio and a lot of experience, because it's really hard to get accepted there. So I actually went to art school for 4 years before I got accepted to the Royal College, and the Royal College is 5 years. So I mean, I went 9 years at art school.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're pretty much a doctor in
Yeah,
art.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that you had that much formal background into
Yeah,
art.
it was like it was all my life. That was all I did.
Is a lot of, if I may ask, is your family do you come from a very artistic family?
Kind of. I mean, my parents were more like hippies.
Okay.
But we sort of really culturally interested. My father was a musician, and
Oh,
did
wow.
a bit of everything, and he also dabbled in painting sometimes, but he was an artist like that. But my mother has always been like interested in art as well, so it was like a natural thing in the family. But I don't come from a artistic family background in the sense that they were artists as well.
I understand, but certainly that having quote unquote hippie parents,
Yeah, yeah.
that helps creativity
Oh
flourish.
yeah, sure, for sure.
Um, so when you mentioned you went to the Royal Art Academy,
Mm.
and I have to ask why you were at that academy, because that's quite a prestigious school. As you
Mm.
said, very hard to get into.
Mm.
Did that help refine your artistic abilities while you were there?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was. I think that before I went there, I think I thought that sort of the art education, the skills honing, and all that stuff would continue there. But I was a bit surprised to find that when at the academy or the Royal College, it was more about like finding your own expression, and it wasn't so much like uh, basic continuing to draw the nude, or doing like color testing, mixing, and stuff. So in at first I was actually a bit disappointed, because I wanted to sort of continue a quite rigorous training regime,
Oh,
but after a while I thought of it more like, okay, so basically I get 5 years with a massive they had machines for everything. You could, if you could dream it, you could build it. They,
oh wow.
yeah, they, if you wanted to metal sculpture, you could do that. If you wanted to
Oh, neat.
sculpt in clay and cast it in bronze, sure, you could do
Oh,
that.
wow.
And but they also had a computer department that was really advanced, because they had some of the latest computer equipment for graphics, and but also for I mean, this was in 96 that I got accepted
Okay.
there. Yeah. So I went there from 96 to 2001, and but they actually had a 3D scanner back in 96.
Oh, wow. That's advanced.
Yeah, and they shared it with like the Royal Institute of Technology, I think. So I mean, that it was the latest stuff, and silicon graphics computers with Maya, the 3D software installed, and so you could just play around with basically everything. So it's a long answer to your question, but yes, I felt that going there, it was like uh, I could really have time to figure out what it was I wanted to do, and I could do it at my own pace, you know.
So you had the freedom to explore while you were at that university.
Exactly. And they also had like if you wanted, you could have do an exchange program with some other college in Europe. So I actually went for like half a year or something to Madrid, and so I lived in Madrid for 6 months or something, and went to the Facultad de Bellas Artes in Madrid.
That's wow, that's an amazing opportunity. Did
Yeah,
that
it was really cool. Cool place.
did that influence your art when you were studying there?
Not so much the school, but just, you know, being alone in a strange city, and, you know, learning a new language, and, you know, going out to the bars, and it was a big influence, just, you know, getting out there in the world. And actually I went often to the Prado Museum, where they have the massive works by Goya and Velasquez. And so, yeah, it was fantastic. And it was also there that I sometimes went to an internet cafe where they had the old multiplayer game Half-Life Deathmatch. So I used to play Half-Life Deathmatch in the evenings. You know,
neat.
yeah, on LAN.
Oh. And what year was that?
That was like I think it was 99 or 2000. Yeah.
In 99. Now, Half-Life, is that around the same time you were introduced to Counter-Strike? Because from what I understand, that was influential.
Yeah, very. But I think that was when I got back to Stockholm after Madrid. A friend of mine at the art school introduced me to Counter-Strike. So I think it was because I thought I had, you know, it was so much fun playing this Half-Life Deathmatch, and Counter-Strike was built on the same engine, so they were quite similar in a way. But then I started to play Counter-Strike, and then I was hooked for a couple of years. Played it all the time, and
wow.
with friends and online. Like the esports scene was taking off in basically the whole world, but very much in Sweden. Sweden was quite early with you know, getting good like internet connection all over the country, and also there was some kind of subsidy to so almost every family could get a PC at you know, and write off, you know, taxes. I don't remember, but everybody, it exploded like during those years.
Wow, I didn't realize. And Counter-Strike is how. Now I watched your presentation at the Smithsonian 2012, and Counter-Strike. You bring that up quite a bit. What was it exactly about Counter-Strike that influenced, I guess, graphics and your work?
It was it wasn't the game itself, really. It wasn't the gameplay. It was those moments when you got killed, and suddenly the illusion or the immersion in the game was broken, and you could and you could like reflect on the game and talk to the other dead players, and fly through the game map, like out through the walls, and you really realize that the world that you had been so like connected to and inside of suddenly were, it was just an illusion, and it was like presented in this really like poetic way, I thought, because you could still see parts of the graphics really still convincingly realistic in a way, but and then the graphics card rendered the places where the architecture wasn't didn't exist because the game developers, had a boundary for the map that was just represented by black. And I thought it was such it was partly it was a thing that, thinking of modernism, where one of the things in modernism is that you emphasize the surface of the painting. You sort of don't want to make an illusion of space. The paint is the paint on the surface. And in the scenes when you were dead in Counter-Strike, the flatness of these these abstract shapes reminded you that this was just the surface. But at the same time, of course, you had this experience of being omnipresent outside the world. You could talk to the other dead players, so that was like a kind of, it was some version of a spirit world,
No, that's an interesting view. That's what intrigues me about your work so much, is that exactly what you said. It's the omnipresent feeling, that was the word I was searching for when I look at your art. It makes me, I'm jumping ahead a little bit in my script here, but or my questions, but it makes me feel like what is it called? Like a simulation theory, like a simulation, like Nick Bo's simulation theory. It's very thought provoking.
Yeah,
I love it. It makes you think, what is reality, or question reality.
exactly.
To me, that's what your art makes me feel. I was, when I was doing research, you mentioned something about how that kind of just shatters, like you said, the reality of the game. When it glitches, is that what the chaos? You mentioned chaos, I heard you say quite a few times.
Yeah, I think I might have mentioned it in connection with perhaps correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe I was talking about creativity in itself. You need to sort of invite chaos into your work.
Yes.
Because there's so much to pick up there.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking of. I got a little mixed up with that. I wanted to ask you, could you tell me a little bit about your process, specifically your sketches, because I find that extremely fascinating, because you mentioned the 3D software, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it started with these Minecraft paintings back when I was or even earlier, actually. I did the sketches in Maya during my time there in the beginning of my studies at Royal College, and I was fascinated by that I could just create a scene and rotate it and look at the stuff I made from different angles. It was a completely new thing for me, and when I made the Counter-Strike paintings, I also wanted to be able to make my own maps for Counter-Strike. So I made a map, and that meant I had to learn the tools, the 3D tools. And when I'd done that, I realized, well, these tools are made to make a game. This isn't actually what I should be using. I should be using a 3D software of some kind. So I started testing out different 3D software, but for many years I used Maya. Yeah. So, and ever since, my process has been like I start sketching something. I start by building a scene, and I think of it like I usually start with a plane or a cube or something onto which I build a scene, and I think of it like if I'm a set designer for a play on a theater play or something. Okay, so here's the backdrops and here's what should come in here from the side, and basically I build my motif in 3D. So when I'm like, when I'm finished with the motif, then I might choose to paint it. Yeah.
How do you discover your motif? Is that something? Do you have something in your head beforehand?
Quite often I have an idea sometimes I find myself seeing a scene before me, like oh wait a minute, what was that, and I sketch it down.
Okay.
And so I have like a pile of papers with crude sketches on that I can flip through when I'm sculpting or I'm starting out a new motif. So and then I was like, oh yeah, this was a nice idea. Okay, so and it's just a few lines on a piece of paper, but that's the starting point often. But sometimes I just start with not blank canvas, but blank, what do you call it, viewport in 3D. And then I just build until it's interesting or it's worthless, in which case I throw it out and start again. So sometimes it may take months to have a couple of motifs ready for painting.
Oh, wow. And you get a lot of your inspiration, or I've noticed from, I guess, the Minecraft paintings, from the classical masters.
Yes.
Do you get inspiration? Do you go to museums for this inspiration that you incorporate into your art, or do you have a catalog of paintings? Or
yeah, nowadays it's much easier to find good reproductions of classical paintings online. But when I started out with this, I actually I scanned art books at the library and tried to amass a collection of art that I categorized, and so I have
oh, wow.
I think I ended up with 70,000 paintings or something.
Oh, wow.
So I still have that on a hard drive, but so I could oh, wait a minute, I think there was a painting by Murillo that could be a good starting point here. And then I flipped through the library and then, well, yeah, this is the one. And then I use that, or I cut stuff out from it. And so quite often I start with the classical painting as the starting point. Sometimes when I'm finished with the motif, there's nothing left of the original one, but it's sort of the skeleton is still there, or some kind of I think it's about finding a way for myself to create some kind of meaning for myself as I work. It's not necessarily that every aspect or even the most fundamental thing in the painting or the skeleton of the painting is supposed to be perfectly interpreted by the viewer. I mean, but for myself, I sort of create a game for myself where one aspect often is playing around with an older compositional idea or an older image part from a classical painting or something. Yeah.
I think that's intriguing to me. It sounds like you make these into dioramas essentially, and you can just they sound like mini worlds that you.
Yeah. And it's quite fun. Sometimes I load up a file from like 2010 and, and I suddenly find myself inside the world that I created back then, and I can still rotate the scene and look as well. Oh, did I put the light there? Is that the directional light? I should have made that the sunlight. Okay, yeah, okay. And then it's kind of fun.
It,
It's sort of like a collection of memories, but they're also not physical spaces, but they are spaces, and they're so familiar to me, and I haven't returned to them like in 15 years. It's kind of fun to take a look around.
I can imagine.
It's like when you were a kid and you went somewhere and you haven't been back for a long time, and you come back and it's sort of nostalgic, but it's also exciting.
I think that's really neat.
Yeah.
I think that's very
So,
unique too.
yeah, I have like thousands of virtual spaces that I can return to, but I found that some of the old Maya files are missing their textures. But I think it's because what the Maya version I have now thinks that the textures are in another directory. So I think I'll just have to change the directory path and they pop up again.
I see. That was something I was going to ask you. Just in the span of 15 years from your original paints in Minecraft to today, I'm sure the tools, the technology has changed obviously a lot.
Massively, yeah.
Has that helped you? I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
it's been a positive, right?
yeah, absolutely. I think it was like in 2018 or 19 when Blender released, I think what was like Blender 3.8, 3.9. I don't remember.
I'm not
I could,
sure.
anyway, the new thing was that they had a new real-time renderer, which meant that instead of having to construct the scene in a very, very basic lighting, and then you had to render test images to see, okay, so that's where the shadow falls, and okay, so this is what that color looks like with this light. And instead of waiting for like 2 minutes to render an image to see the result, it was instant on the screen, or almost instant.
Oh, wow.
And that I think that made more of a like positive difference for me, as because I used the tool in that way, just to be able to quickly see changes in color and lighting. And yeah, so that's when I decided to skip all other 3D software that I had been using and start to learn Blender instead. So that's what I did, and since then I've only used Blender, actually.
So Blender's your go-to.
Yeah, it's my all-in-one toolbox now.
And it used to be, you said Maya or
Yeah, Maya and a software called View, which was really good at large atmospheric scenes. And I used Terragen, a landscape generator.
okay.
And a couple of more others that I only tested out and found lacking. Yeah.
Wow. So when you got started, you had to teach yourself a lot about the software.
Yeah, yeah.
I can only imagine.
I've had to teach myself all of this. I've never taken any like tutoring or classes in 3D or something. But I sort of I learn what I need to know just to make my scenes, and then I sort of stop because they're so complex and there's so much you can do. Is absolutely amazing, but I don't have the skill or the time to learn everything. So sometimes I've gotten the question like, well, you should get hired by a 3D company or a game studio to make 3D stuff. And I was like, no, they would laugh me all the way out again because I'm really bad. I'm really bad at 3D 3D sculpting. Yeah, I'm probably quite horrible at it, actually.
Well, so during your construction of your sketches, you select these scenes that you're going about. Mm. I have to ask, the classical art, as I said, you incorporate that law into your paintings. What are those qualities in classical art, or from those old masters that you like?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it's so many things, but it's also some things that are not really possible to define. It's not really tangible. Sometimes I think that it's the you in works for, let's take an example. Let's take paintings from the 16th century, or you can see that the artists had a completely different way of looking at the world. One has to remember that, before photography and, widescreen cinema stuff, going into a church and looking at an altarpiece was like the maximum, visual stimuli that you could possibly imagine. So working with paint back then, there was a kind of respect for the image that you can see and feel in the works, and sometimes you can, if you study them, you can sort of see how to put it, like you can see the construction of the paintings, which gives you a sort of a connection to a person that's been dead for 400 years, and you can feel what he or she felt. You can feel what the intentions were, and even though you might not be versed in Catholic tales from the time, or exactly what kind of saint did that, and what everything means, it doesn't matter, because you can feel it, and so there's something in these older works that I'm really, I can't live without it, because it connects me to humanity as a whole, not only the present time, and that is very, very worthwhile for me.
I think that's a great statement. That's the old classics make me feel, to me, the same way. It's intangible. It's a sentiment or a feeling I get from it. I do want to ask you about something that is used quite often in these classical paintings, and something I believe that you mentioned in that Smithsonian presentation you did, the golden ratio. That's something. Is that something that you intentionally use in your artwork while designing, or is that something that just happens when you're making it?
Sometimes I've discovered that it just happens, but quite often as I start to sketch in the 3D software, I use different kinds of compositional ideas, and one of them is the golden ratio. So, but I use it not in a, you know, oh, now I'm going to use the golden ratio to make a great painting. You know, I use it as and not as a toy, but as something to play with as I'm building. And there's no denying that there is some kind of effect there, and I do like it. So I use it in many of my works. I sometimes start the 3D scenes with just a few lines that go through the screen.
Mm.
So the viewport window has like an overlay on top of it with my compositional idea, and then I arrange the 3D objects in the space to align with that composition.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm.
And do you place the figures in your paintings also in accordance with that line, or is it when you do approach that in that way?
Yeah, but I'm not like aligning stuff so that they fit the lines
Mm-hmm.
or the composition. It's more like I try sometimes to see if I can make it work that way or another, and I line stuff, and but then half of the fun is to break that, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
destroy the original idea. And that's, maybe we could come back to what we talked about earlier, letting chaos in,
Ah.
because quite often when I make a mistake in the process, I find that the mistake actually was better than my intention. And as I realize that, and I have already sort of in the back of my mind, I've already decided this is what I'm going to keep. I'm going to keep the mistake. And as I think of that, I realize that then there must be another level that actually decides what to keep. So what really resonates within me to make that choice, you know?
Yeah.
So the creative choice is something that wouldn't come to me that in such in that kind of strong sense, unless it was during some kind of revelation, or that's maybe a too dramatic word, but some kind of discovery, let's say. So I discover that I've made something that's better than my intention, and that is, you know, a happy moment for me. So sometimes I try to trick myself, and I set traps for myself, and being really bad at 3D software helps because you make all these errors that suddenly can be so much better than your intention. So yeah, I one thing that's happened actually a couple of times is that, you know, I've constructed my 3D scene, and I have chosen the camera viewpoint, because there's always like this fixed eye in the 3D space that looks at the scene, and that is sort of the viewer, but it's also, you know, the basis for my coming painting, you know, oil painting later on. But so I've chosen this view, and I've created the scene, and I'm, you know, sort of set on that. and suddenly I make some kind of mistake, not like I accidentally move the camera, or suddenly the camera changes, field of view or something. So I see the scene from another angle or in some other way, and I realize that, 99% of the times I just flip the camera back and no, that wasn't good. But sometimes it's so much better than the original version that I have like worked on for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then I keep that. So yeah, that's sort of the fun of one fun aspect of that kind of process, actually. And it's and it feels very creative and fun for me.
No, that seems like it, and I that fascinates me that you can turn these mistakes into and make them into beautiful mistakes.
Yeah.
It's very. I know. I like that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to ask you a question that kind of segues me a little bit into your Minecraft paintings a little bit more. I heard you during your presentation at the Smithsonian that you referred to these figures in your paintings as quote unquote actors quite often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could you explain that a little bit to me? I thought that was quite fascinating.
Well, since I think of my motives or the scenes in which where I build my motives as theater stages, it makes sense for me to think of the different image parts as actors. But I don't reserve that only for sort of image parts which depict humans, or that can be like an image part from a pixel game from the 80s or something. They're also actors, and I can move them about and sort of find an interesting when they sort of some kind of tension arises in the image when the different image parts interact with each other. That doesn't mean like they have to touch each other or anything, but it's like if there's an interesting tension between the different parts, then I sort of, that is often when I stop and like, oh, this is enough,
Would a painting that, for an example, would that be like the ninja character with the human hand touching?
Yeah, sure.
Would that be a good example of that?
Sure.
I find that painting, to be very fascinating.
Yeah. It's so simple. It's just three. I think it's more like 4 parts or something. It's the theater stage or the plane on which the fighter stands, and then there's the backdrop. I think it's a Caspar David Friedrich painting from the 18th century, and then there's this international karate fellow, and then I took a picture of my own hand. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's your hand in that painting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea whose that was.
Yeah.
And to me, that seems like a very I can't remember the famous painting by Michelangelo, the hands touch God,
creation of Adam.
Yes, that's what it reminds me of. And my brother said the same thing. And no, I think that's a very intriguing painting. It's
the funny thing is, I didn't think of that when I made the painting.
Really?
Yeah. So, and then somebody pointed it out, and I was like, "What? How come I didn't see that? Because it's so obvious." And I know, I know Michelangelo in and out, and I've been to the Sixtine Chapel, and one of the most famous paintings or pieces of, like, it's a cutout from a fresco, but how come I didn't like? Why wasn't this obvious as I was creating it? No, it wasn't.
That's
Really, really strange. It's sort of like temporary blindness or something.
Almost like it came from your subconscious almost.
Yeah, exactly. Or it was too obvious. So my part of my brain blocked it out, so I could still do the painting without feeling embarrassed or something. I don't know.
Wow, that's very fascinating. I thought you did that on purpose.
I'm not that clever,
That is funny. I had no idea about that.
No, me neither.
Yeah, so I noticed that one of your actors is in your Minecraft paintings, or not just your Minecraft paintings, but in a lot of your artwork. I don't know if he has a name, but I went ahead and wrote this down, what you titled it, Graham, in the 2003 painting.
Yeah.
I think he also appears in the Golden Apple in 2006.
Yeah.
And also in Which Refreshments Are Plentiful. Who is this? Who is this fellow? I personally am curious of him.
Okay, yeah, I can tell you. It's the protagonist, the main character of the King's Quest series of games, which were produced by a company called Sierra Online back in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were very early computer games, made for, I don't know if they were made for the PC at the time, or if they were, but anyway, so he's like a prince. It's a very traditional story. He's an heir to the throne, and he has to go on some adventures, and it's also text based, so you play as him, and you can walk up to, say, a door, and then you type open door, return, and then a prompt comes up, the door is locked.
Oh, that's interesting.
and then you have to go find the key and stuff. No, so his name is Graham. Yeah, King Graham or Prince Graham. Yeah,
Graham. Okay, I was calling him Graham. Okay, Graham. That's it. Is he your favorite actor out of these Minecraft paintings?
I haven't used him in quite a while, actually.
Oh, is he not in your new in one of your new ones?
He is, but that painting is a painting that I made at the same time as some of the others back in 2003. So that's an old. The original painting for that one is really old.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't use him anymore, but I used him a lot because he was sort of the perfect representative of the flatness of pixels, but in a transformed way, because if I were to place him in a 3D scene, his flatness would be so exaggerated against the other spatial objects, like I could have a rounded scene, or I could have quite naturalistic trees painted in the background, and then I put him there. Then he sort of transforms into sort of not a representative of pixels, or just pixels, but also flatness.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to put a light coming from the side, he would cast this really a perfect shadow describing his form along the floor. So I just thought that was really funny.
I love Graham. I think I and I love what you do with that contrast of the flatness of pixels.
Yeah,
I think that's just
it's
that
the same.
binary.
Is it? It's the same function as like the fire sprite
Yes.
in some of the other paintings. Uh, I don't remember where I think I might have made that myself, or I don't remember. But anyway, it just depicts like a couple of pixels, but you can sense that it's fire.
Uh-huh.
But what is it? What about it makes it fire? Because it certainly doesn't look like a fire. A fire is fluid. It's
Mm,
ever changing. It's organic, you
mhm.
know. And then there's like these 11 pixels in different colors, and you're like, oh, that's fire. But
No,
it's
yeah, no, it actually the flames and the fire was something I have written here, like fire, 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 and skeleton.
yeah.
I wanted to
Yes,
ask you because I see fire and skeletons,
yeah.
and I love the fire. I don't know what it conveys to me. It's almost a lot of your paintings to me, not just in the game, but your real ones. They do the same thing. They provoke something intangible. I
Mm.
can't really describe what it is,
I'm
and
glad to hear it. Yeah,
oh, I love that. It's hard to pinpoint it, and um, it's just very surreal.
yeah.
The what were okay? I guess I just have to ask, how were you introduced to Minecraft? how did how did your because when I first started playing Minecraft when I was 25, my brother introduced me to it, and I put
Mm.
up a painting in the wall. I was like,
Yeah,
"What is this?" I said,
yeah.
"There's a skull with flames coming out of its head.
Yeah,
What does this represent?"
yeah.
And that
It's
was before
strange.
I knew who you were, Mister Christopher. I did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how was it that you were introduced to this game?
Well, I knew Marcus, who made the game,
Oh wow.
since long before Minecraft. So, uh, and he was working at the computer company, and but in his free time, he was like sitting in the evenings and programming and making sort of mini games and stuff. Uh, so that was kind of his hobby, to make
Oh
to make
wow.
games in his spare time. And one day he showed me this blocky, game where he started pounding on the on the. I think it was, yeah. I think it was only grass at that time. I think it was he has and he pounded on it with his fists, and suddenly a block disappeared, and I was like, wow. Yeah, so I saw the game being developed, from the beginning. And
That's amazing.
sometime quite early on, he was like, oh, so I'm adding like furniture and stuff. I had an idea that you could like if you take these sticks and wool, it would become a painting. Can you make some paintings I can put in the game? I was like, sure. So I sent him a file with some of my paintings, shrunken down, and I messed about with them a bit, because just for fun. And then he put them in the game, and that was it. Like, but that was long before Minecraft was, popular. I think he had started to. I think he had a web page where he, like a blog where he had updates to the game and stuff.
Oh really? Okay. I wasn't aware
But
of that.
that was like I think 1 year later or so, it really took off, and he started like selling a lot of copies. And about that time, he it was it was some kind of uh, uh, that they had some kind of competition, Minecraft competition, together with the Swedish a computer parts retailer, So that's some kind of competition, and the idea was that they would win one Minecraft painting. So
Oh,
they asked me to make one more.
okay.
So that was the only one that I made sort of for Minecraft,
Which one?
and that was the skull on fire.
Oh, neat.
And so that was added like a year after the other ones, and yeah, and then it was won by the winner of that competition. Then, yeah.
Wow. What year was that? That do you know?
I think it was in 2010 or 11. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then your other like the ones that you sent prior to that competition though, was that like around 2009 or
I th- Now that I think about it, I think the first ones was added early 2010,
okay.
and the skull on fire must have been added early 2011.
I see.
That's what I might be wrong. But I think so. Yeah.
Now, did these pixelated paintings for the game, did these pose different challenges to make as opposed to your oil paintings? It was this. I'm curious what challenges you faced during.
You mean the original ones that I made in 2010, or?
Yes, yeah, I was curious. I didn't
Yeah.
know how
No,
that.
but I just tested first. I just took, because I always document my work, of course, my paintings. So I have like photos of all the paintings I make. So I took, I took some of those photos and shrunk them down to the proportions that we agreed on. The largest would be 64 by 64 pixels, and then there would be like 32 by 64. I don't remember, but the smallest ones I think are 16 by 16 pixels.
Oh wow.
And so I just shrunk them down to see what they would look like. And in most cases, I didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
That's fine. But
Okay.
I realized I had to downsample them using nearest neighbor algorithm and not keep it on auto, because it would they would just be extremely blurry. So because I wanted them to look like they were part of the Minecraft world, in that they were sharp pixels and not some kind of softness in them. But
Mhm.
there still are there still is quite a bit of softness in them, and some of them I made some additions to in the pixel versions, like I made an ugly spider in one of them. I think in the original, the spider is actually it is a spider in the original, but it's much nicer. I don't know.
Much nicer.
Yeah. So if I had known that this game would, be looked upon by, more than 100 people, I would have probably spent a few more hours tinkering with the original ones.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to asking you this. Minecraft is, as you probably are, is the most popular game on the planet Earth.
Mm, yes.
And I think that makes you probably the most exposed living artist in the world.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
How does that feel? Would you have ever imagined when Marcus Persson asked you to add art to this? Did you think?
No, no. If somebody would have, said something like that, I mean, we would just have laughed.
I bet that's an odd feeling.
It's really strange. It's
I,
really strange. Yeah,
I,
and I get like so much emails, and people contact me and tell me that you know it's really touching. You were a big part of my childhood, and it's really touching, but it's also very strange.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're literally Minecraft's been around 15 years as of yesterday, I believe.
Yeah.
And so you literally have been in people's their entire lives, some of these people.
Yeah, it's an honor.
No, I can only imagine. I would like to ask you, how have you changed as an artist in these 15 years?
Well, I hope I have perhaps somewhat more approached more of a place where I feel a bit more comfortable in the way I've in my images that I create. I'm a bit more mature, perhaps, and also my interests have changed a little bit, I guess. But the last couple of years has been more of a return to more classical compositions, in the sense that the oil paintings I make are made with a little bit more classical technique, because I started out early when I was at art school and stuff, learning sort of a very classical painting technique. But then I experimented and changed the way I painted, physically, in the sense that how I would put up the colors on the canvas and stuff. But the last couple of years, I've been returning more to a very classical technique, more of a Flemish school, layer upon layer of very thin paint, and it's quite laborious, but it's So that's what I can think about right now, as it has changed compared to a couple of years ago.
I see. No, I thought it was pretty doing the research upon you through your website. I was looking through all your paintings, and I just thought it was extremely wonderful to see, like, just your early works. I think from early school, and just where you are at today is just amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
I really want to buy one of your prints and hang up in my studio, and I plan on doing that one day.
Great.
I do. It's just very inspirational. It gets my imagination going.
Wonderful.
So, Kristoffer, I guess I have to ask you, the original Minecraft paintings from 15 years ago, to the new ones that were just released, do they relate, or do they differ? Could you explain that a little bit?
I tried to make the new ones feel at home with the old ones, so that they wouldn't stand out, in the sense that they would feel. I wanted to sort of occupy the same universe as the older paintings, and much of that, of course, comes sort of naturally, because I'm the one making them, and they all come from my head, in a sense, but I also wanted to, because I had more time to do them this time, so I had more time to think and choose, and so I wanted to make some of them a bit more like decipherable, perhaps.
I was looking through them all, and you have Graham in it again, and I did notice some of them do look a little bit discernible. You say,
Yeah,
they do a little bit more, I suppose, discernible.
and this time I didn't make any small ones. So I think the smallest ones here is like 32 by 32 or something. Or no, they're even bigger. Oh, anyway, I had a bit more pixel room to play with this time, so that was actually a bit of a challenge, because I didn't want them to look like. I had to find a balance between being able to see approximately what they are depicting, but still leaving a lot to the imagination, so that they keep that kind of feeling as the old ones had or
I
had.
think I think you did a fantastic job doing that. They mesh very well together from what I've seen.
Thank you.
I did read in the Minecraft.net article. It mentioned that the skeleton was mandatory. Was that a request they made?
No, I think he said that in just joking. But no, I remember I had a great collaboration with the art director at Mojang, who. So when we were talking about what type of paintings we could use, I actually asked, is it okay if there's one more skeleton? And he was like, yeah, I love skeletons.
They're very prolific in the game.
Yeah.
It fits the mythology very well.
Yeah.
In the flames. And I saw the owl and the lemon. That was unique. That one seemed very different than the other.
That wasn't the easiest one to sort of make fit in the game, but yeah, it wound up in the game, and I'm glad. I kind of like it.
No, I like it too. I don't know why exactly it stands out, but I wasn't expecting to see an owl or a lemon, because neither of those are in the game.
No, but maybe one day. Maybe one day.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah.
Are you giving us a hint?
No, I have absolutely no insight into what they're gonna put in the game. But I said jokingly, we all know there will be owls in Minecraft.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah, they'll probably have every animal one day.
Yeah, exactly.
They keep adding so much.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Can we expect more of your paintings to be added to the game in the future, maybe for a 20th anniversary, or is that?
You never know. I don't know.
Well, I was ecstatic to see that. I wasn't expecting your paintings. I didn't expect more of them to come into the Minecraft world. That was a very pleasant surprise, and from what I saw online, many people are pleased with that.
Yeah. It was fun to see that many liked them, and that so many were really surprised.
Yes, I think you took the world off guard.
Yeah.
And I guess I have to ask you this, because there's going to be a 2025 Minecraft movie coming out. I just have to ask, is any of your paintings going to be in that, or maybe you don't even know?
That would be fun. Yeah.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a trailer for the movie really yet, so I don't even know what's incorporated in it.
I don't know. That would be fun.
I think it'd be really neat if they had, I don't know, in one of their buildings, as a
Yeah, yeah,
background, your paintings. I think
yeah.
that would make it very realistic.
That would be awesome.
Well, I guess we'll find out together then.
Yeah.
I, I'm coming to the end of the show here, and I just have a couple questions I wanted to ask you personally. Um, I just want to ask about your future exhibitions coming up. I know that I think in August you have something coming up, right?
Well, it's I think it opens in September.
Oh,
It's a group show. It's not a solo show, but it's at the National Museum of Sweden. Um so it's our national museum, which they have an exhibition called The Romantic Eye, which includes works by romantic painters from the 19th century,
oh,
like Delacroix and Caspar David Friedrich and many others. But they also have chosen to include some contemporary artists. I'm not sure why, but I think they want to showcase sort of the romantic influence on contemporary art and the romantic art of the 19th century as it has progressed into present time. So they and one of my paintings are going to be included in that exhibition. So that's looking forward to that.
that's
But
amazing.
yeah, that's really cool.
And isn't Caspar Friedrich one of your inspirations? Like
Sure.
the
Yeah.
Wonder?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
your art's going to be with somebody that inspired you.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
I was really surprised. I had no idea about this exhibition a couple of weeks ago. So I was really surprised, and I'm very happy to be, exhibiting together with my idols.
Yeah, no, that's an honor in itself.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have anything in the United States? Any of your art like exhibitions here,
Hmm.
or
No, nothing planned. But I hope one day to exhibit in the States. That would be awesome.
I think that would be amazing because I'd love to go see it.
Yeah.
I if I could make it over to Europe, I would. I don't think I'll be flying over to Europe anytime soon,
No,
but
no, no,
I'd love
but
to see it.
I would be happy to exhibit more abroad. It's I really like having showing my work, because it's so much. I mean, okay, I shouldn't complain, since my paintings are viewed quite a lot apparently, but it's fun to show them physically, because I mean, as I'm working in the studio, my digital work, my work with the motifs for the paintings and everything's digital. But the most important aspect of this whole process for me is the physical work with oil paint, or I mean, I use other stuff too, but the physical work when I'm painting, that's my goal, or that's the most rewarding part of the process for me. So when I'm finished and there's a physical piece of painting on the wall, that I'm like, okay, so now done. Let's do the next one. And then they just stay here in the studio if I don't sell it, or but
Oh,
but to show them in the finished state, that's always fun. That's always like yeah,
I
a rewarding thing for me.
I can't imagine. I there's an amazing museum not far from where I live in Kansas City. It's a bigger town in the Midwest, but I could see your art being up in there.
Maybe one day.
Maybe. I hope so.
Yeah.
I and you don't just do paintings. I've also seen that you've done tile mosaics as
Yeah.
well, which I love. That looks fantastic. That hospital,
Yeah.
that wow, that's a big.
That's a
mural.
big mural. Yeah, it covers the whole wall of a parking garage. I think
Wow.
it's like 80 meters long, or yeah,
Oh
it's
my
huge.
God.
But I made quite a few of those tile mosaic things. That's the biggest one that I made for uh,
Y-
swimming uh, pools and stuff, and yeah. But it's fun because when I make tile mosaics, I can actually do real pixel painting because they are physical objects of a certain size that I can't blur out. So,
Mhm.
so when I make those, I actually work more like a pixel artist, actually.
Th- They're perfect for a pixel.
Yeah,
Uh,
they are
I,
sort of pixels. Yeah,
yes,
and I
I
also made um, like glass works for a window at the culture house here in Sweden.
oh, like stained.
Uh, yeah, exactly, stained glass.
Okay.
Uh, and then so I found this old firm here in Stockholm, a glass supplier that's been around since for like 150 years, and they still had on the
Wow.
attic like old glass from the 19th century,
Wow.
which I could use. So I asked them to cut them up in pixel size, you know, and then I used those for quite a huge window in outside of Stockholm.
I'll have to go online and look at that. I don't think I saw that one. I
No, it's called In Vitro. It's on my page under commissions. Uh,
okay.
so they're rounded forms which made of metal that surround these pixelated stained glass forms. Yeah,
I love the look of stained glass,
they're so
and
beautiful.
I've never got into stained glass myself. I make glue glass beads, but I've never done that, and
Mm.
I it looks
There's
beautiful.
something about the material that's so alive, and that since the pigment is sort of suspended in the
Mhm.
in the glass, uh, it has this luminous quality. I mean, of course, that's why it's used in churches. The light outside, you know,
Y-
lights up the glass. Like, yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a whole different element, and I believe
Yeah,
doesn't France, not far from, I mean, over in Europe, have the oldest glass blowing guild or company on the planet?
I wouldn't
I
be surprised. Yeah,
I think they do, which
yeah,
I love all that. And your, as I said, your mosaics. When I saw that on your webpage, I just thought that was very intriguing. That's just a whole different. Do you get a different feeling from doing that type of artwork compared to your oil paintings?
yeah, yeah. In a sense, um, because it's a completely different sort of expression. But but I but the process is rather similar, actually. I still I still start by sculpting it in 3D.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm not sculpting the pixels but I sculpt the place where I'm going to put this. So
Interesting.
yeah, so when I, for example, made that for the hospital, I built the all the buildings. Uh, I built the hospital in 3D, and
Wow.
so that I could fly around the building and look at the wall
Oh,
on
wow.
which I was commissioned to place something. And then, like, okay, so if we look at it from here, and then I could make these mosaic. Uh, just I can make textures to put on the wall so that they could have a very good visualization of what it would look like from different angles. And okay, so if you step outside the the door of this building, it will look like this when I look.
Wow.
It's a
That's
good.
that's the attention to detail. That's just an ingenious approach to doing that.
It comes from me being so accustomed to creating a 3D world in which I can move freely and let my thoughts just pour into the scene, and it's also a space where I can improvise. So by building it in this rather, it takes time and it's messy, and but when I got the 3D space sort of figured out, then I feel kind of free, and it feels like I own it in a way.
I just
So I want to make it mine first, and then I can let go and be more free, and that's, for me, that's a sort of big part of finding a good creative space for myself.
Wow. And how long does it take you, or how long did it take you to do that hospital mural, if I may ask?
I mean, I think I spent a couple of months doing the sketches, and at the same time as I was working with the oil paintings in the studio. But then I returned to trying to figure out exactly what the motif would be. But then actually putting it up, then there are skilled workers that do that. So I hire people to do the physical work.
I see.
I wouldn't be able to do that professionally. It's a whole skill.
Yes, I wasn't sure if you actually were the one putting those up.
No,
so that answered my question there. But that's intriguing. Just that sounds like a hurdle just to design something that large. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah,
80 meters.
Yeah, but since I sort of shrunk down the problem to a 3D scene in which I had control, I overcame that hurdle, the hurdle of physicality and the hurdle of size, so that I could be sort of free as I was making it.
Mm-hmm.
And since I then when I was satisfied with the motif, I could just take those pixel paintings, send them to a factory in Italy, and they would come 2 months later in boxes, ready to be put up,
Wow.
on nets, so that the tile workers, they don't have to place one by one. They place a tile of 30 by 30. So it's much easier. They don't have to do any creative work, sort of, except for the the creative work of tiling. But they don't have to worry if they put a pixel wrong or something. And actually, in that case, it would have been kind of a mess if they had put one pixel wrong, because hidden in in that mural is a QR code.
Really?
Yeah. So I never told that to the hospital, because I wasn't sure if it would work. But
That's amazing.
so when they put it up, I went there with my smartphone and yep, it worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Wow. And what's the QR code for?
It goes to a place on my webpage where the mural is sort of explained, and if you can continue clicking and see what the different parts of the mural depicts, and a little bit of story back, and links to Wikipedia pages regarding all the the concepts that I'm talking about, like it's about medical history.
That is an amazing idea. That talk about taking interactive art to the next level. I did not know that. That's very fun.
No, it was a bit of a gamble on my part, but it worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
And, no, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Zetterstrand, I think I'm at the end of the show. I just want I could talk all day. Honestly, I have so many questions. I don't want to. I know that you have a busy life, and so I'll wrap this up. Where can we buy your art? Is that just on your web page?
Yeah. I sell some of original art on my website, but mainly I also have a print shop. So if anybody wants prints of my paintings, they should be available on my print shop at zetterstrand.com.
Okay, so that's at zetterstrand.com. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to link your webpage to the show description so people can go there and view it. Yes, of course. Because I'm going to go there myself. As I said, I want to buy one. And I just wanted to say, Kristoffer, that it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've learned so much. And I just want to say thank you for being on Realm News, my humble podcast, and also just thank you for producing the art that you produce, because I think art's essential to humanity, and your contributions, it's just enriching our society much more. And I don't think that we have enough art in the world. I think you do an amazing job.
That's fantastic to hear. Thank you very, very much.
And you're always welcome back to the show, and you always have a friend here in Kansas. I hope to see some.
Awesome. Yeah.
And
it was great talking to you.
Thank you, Kristoffer. You have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, please follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get my latest weekly episodes sent directly to you. Send this podcast to all of your friends that love Minecraft and to learn new knowledge. Comment on each episode and take a poll, and don't forget to rate the show. This will help me improve it. You can reach me at bio.link/realmnews. Again, you can reach me at bio.link/realmnews. There you will find the Discord. Let's build a Realm News community, folks. You can also find my email there and all my other social networks. There you will find some of the cool articles and videos from my research, polls, and Minecraft-related content.